What's up? It's Mr. Ayers again. Today I'm here with some high-octane mathematical knowledge, so open up your brain tanks and get ready to just soak it all in. Okay, today is lesson 5, talking about fractional parts. We do have some vocabulary today. Might be new for some of you, might not be new. We got numerator and denominator. First of all, before we can even talk about numerator and denominator, we gotta know what I'm talking about. Okay, we're talking about fractions today. Okay? Not talking about practice, talking about fractions today. Alright? So fraction looks like this. Okay? 3/4. And this top part of the fraction, okay, this represents the parts you have. Okay? So this is parts of something. This is the parts you have over, and the bottom is the total parts. So for example, here's a pizza. Okay? This top number, the 3, represents let's start at the bottom number. The bottom number, the 4, represents the total parts. So my pizza is split into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. Okay? The 3 is the parts I have. So let's say I ate one of them and now I only have these 3 pieces left. Okay? So I have 3/4 of a pizza left. The shaded part is the parts I have, and then the total parts are the parts I started with. Okay? The 4 total pieces. Now, the words you need to know. Numerator, that's this top number. Okay? That's the part. The denominator, the bottom number, this is the whole. Okay? Other words for those. So the numerator is the part that we have, the denominator is the whole thing. Okay? The amount we started with. Alright, so that's what the fractions mean. Let's get to some examples now. Ah, psych, gotcha. We gotta write down steps before we can solve any problems. You guys should be getting used to this by now. Okay, we're big on the steps, so that way if you come up to me during class, say, but Mr. Ayers, I don't know what to do on this problem. Okay, I'll say, well, go check your notes because you got the steps in there. I told you exactly what to do. Okay, so don't come bother me with your questions before you check your notes for the steps you need to solve things. Then if you're confused by the steps, then I'll be more than happy to show you what to do. Okay, so here's our steps. First one is to write your whole number as a fraction with a denominator of 1. Okay, so in your problems you're going to get a whole number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. We'll talk about what that means to write with a denominator of 1. Okay, step 2, getting ahead of myself. Step 2 is to multiply the whole number by the fractional part. Okay, and the easiest way for me to tell you about fractional parts is to show you an example of it. Okay, but again, I want you to make sure you got the steps written down first. And step 3 is to solve the problem and simplify your answer. Anytime we talk about fractions, we got to simplify our answers if we can. Sometimes we won't be able to. Okay, now for real, not joking with you this time, let's go do some examples. Okay, so here we go with our examples. Up here at the top where objective 14 is, that should say objective 1, that's a typo. Okay, so we're going to find fractional parts of numbers again. There's that word fractional parts, we'll tell you all about what that means. Okay. Let's read through our problem first. Example 1 says there were 30 questions on the test. Sounds important. 1/3 of the questions were true-false. Also important. And 2/5 were multiple choice. Also important. Part A says how many questions were true-false. And part B says how many questions were multiple choice. Okay, again, let's do the understand. Let's make sure we circle what we know. Okay, so I got 30 questions on my test. That's important. That's the total number of questions I have. Okay. Now, because my question has, my problem has a part A and a part B, I'm going to split these up a little bit, make them easier. Oh, let's use blue here. Okay. I'm going to make my multiple choice or true-false questions blue. It says 1/3 of the questions were true-false. Okay. Then we got different kinds of questions. We got some multiple choice questions. We'll make those, this pretty purple color I got here. Okay, 2/5 of the questions were multiple choice. Alright? And the reason why I did that is because I got a part A and part B. My part A is asking me how many questions were true-false. That's the blue stuff. And my part B is asking me how many were multiple choice. That's the purple stuff. Okay? Now, I gave you steps on the previous slide on how to solve these. Okay, and they work really well for all problems. There are going to be some problems, though, where some of you might like to draw a picture because it makes sense and you're a visual learner. Okay, so I'm going to give you that option as well, especially if you can handle the numbers easy enough. So on this one, I'm going to solve this 2 times. I'm going to show you how to solve it with the picture first, and then I'll go back and show you how to solve it with the steps I gave you. Okay, well, let's think about our problem here. We got a test. Okay, and on that test, there's 30 questions total. Alright, let's go with part A first. Part A says how many questions were true, false. So I'm going to get my blue pen here. Okay, how many questions total were true, false? Well, I circle it says 1/3 of the questions were true, false. Okay, well there's my whole test. 1/3 means I'm breaking my test up into 3 different parts. And it says 1/3 of those right here, okay, 1 out of the 3 parts were true, false. Okay, well I can figure this out if I know how many are in each part. Because if I know how many are in each part, I know how many are in this part, and this part, and this part. And this shaded part's the one I'm trying to figure out. Okay, well I've got a 30 question test, and it's broken into 3 parts. Okay, so if I take my 30 and divide it by 3, I got 30 questions and 3 parts to my test. That's going to tell me how many questions are in each part. Okay, 30 divided by 3 is 10. So that means this part has to have 10 questions. This middle part has to have 10 questions. I'm going to erase that and try that again. Okay, so we got 10 questions over here. Middle part has 10 questions. And this other part has 10 questions. And it did it again. Okay? So each of those parts has to have 10 questions because there's 3 parts of the test. It says 1/3, so that's 3 parts. 10 plus 10 plus 10 is 30. Well, 1/3 of those, that's right here. Okay? How many questions were true, false? That's 10 questions. Okay? That's the 1/3 right there. So 10 questions. Alright? So that's how I solved the first one. Well, let's think about the same test again. Okay? Here's my test again. I still got 30 questions. And let's look at part B. Part B says how many were multiple choice. Well, right over here it says 2/5 were multiple choice. 2/5 means I'm breaking my test into 5 parts. And 2 of those parts are multiple choice. Okay? Well, if I break my test apart into 5 parts, I still have 30 questions. Okay, 30 divided by 5 parts. Well, 30 divided by 5 is 6. That means there are 6 questions in each part. Well, if I add each part, 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 6 is 18, plus 6 is 24, plus 6 is 30. That's 30 total questions. Okay, my question's asking me how many questions are multiple choice, and it's 2/5. So I want to know how many questions are right here in this 2/5 part. Well, 6 questions plus 6 more questions, that's 12 total questions. Okay? So that's how we can solve this with a picture. And some of you like pictures and they make sense and they're pretty. So go ahead and draw them if you want to. Okay, solve it. But otherwise, here's the steps that I gave you for this problem. Okay, let's do part A here. Okay, and I'm just going to bust out my red pen for these. Okay, part A. It says how many questions were true, false. So it says the first thing I told you to do is to take my whole number and write it as a fraction over 1. Well, here's my whole number, 30. That's 30 questions on the test. So I'm going to take 30 and write it with the denominator of 1. Okay? And I'm going to multiply that by my fractional part. Well, my fractional part is the words they give me as a fraction. So for true, false, the stuff I have in blue, it says 1/3 of the questions were true, false. So I'm going to multiply 30 over 1 by my fractional part, which is 1/3. Okay? Then, I'm just going to get my answer. Okay, now we should remember how to multiply fractions. When I multiply fractions, I multiply across. I multiply the tops. Okay? Because again, my last thing I need to do is to solve this, and I'm just going to solve it by multiplying. So multiply across the top. 30 times 1 gives me a new top number of 30. Then we multiply across the bottoms. 1 times 3 gives me a bottom number of 3. Okay? Now again, it's said to simplify if possible. Okay? Well, I know 30 divided by 3. Okay, so I can just do that. 30 divided by 3, because that's what a fraction means. Okay, it's the top divided by, this bar means divided by the bottom. So 30 divided by 3 is the same as 10. Oh, look here. Put my answer in a box. That's the same answer I got up here for the true-false questions with the pictures. Okay, and that should happen. Let's try B. So I'm going to start with my whole number again. That didn't change. It's still 30 total questions. Times, I'm going to multiply by my fractional part. Well, B is asking me how many were multiple choice. And for multiple choice, it says right here, 2/5 were multiple choice. Okay? So again, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to multiply across. 30 times 2 is 60. And 1 times 5 is 5. Now I need to reduce it. I'm going to ask myself, do I know what the top divided by the bottom is? 60 divided by 5. Yes, I know that. That is 12. Okay? And again, it's the same answer we got right here. Okay? So that's how we solve a problem with the fractional parts. Okay, let's go on to our next objective.